talking about diving into our prosperity consciousness, our faith on many levels. And this is a song that I've been wanting to do for a while because it means a lot to me. I'm kind of right in it. So come with me. Something's calling me. Something's calling me. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Feel like I'm walking on marbles. Can't still the earth beneath my feet. Is my head in the clouds, my naked legs left dangling. I can feel my heart begin to pound. Everybody said something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. A long dark night makes my soul wonder. Can't see a light that moves me. If God is everything and everywhere where I belong, Spirit gently wake me in my sleep. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Oh Lord, take me deeper than I've ever been before. Oh love is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Compassion's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. My faith keeps calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Forgiveness calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. God is calling me, and I'm grateful like I've never been before.
Janet, Andrew, Jonathan, and Matt, thank you so much. Oh, man. Something's calling us deeper, deeper and deeper and deeper. I know for myself, I'm in the process of thinking about purchasing a new home and looking at what I'm going to do and where I'm going to live, and oh man, is my faith being tested? Looking around and thinking about, can I really afford that? How's that going to work out? Is it going to fit my budget? I don't know that I can afford that. Oh man. And I heard myself saying those things. And I thought, wait. What is it that you believe? What is it that you teach on a Sunday morning? Hello? And this is what happens to us, right? We are confronted in our own lives with that place where all of a sudden we have forgotten the truth. And we fall back into our unbelief. This is not a bad thing. This thing calls us deeper. This is the place. It shows us where we've come to the edge of what we know to be true, and we now have to step out in a new way, in a new place of faith. And my experience in my own life and my experience of other people's lives is health and money are the biggest places that call us deeper if we're willing to go. Why? Because those are the two places where we have the most obvious contrary evidence, isn't it? Those are the things that they're like really real. Like, okay, we can have the spiritual stuff, but then there's like what's really real, the money that's really in my bank account. No, you don't really understand. This is what I get from my paycheck. This is what the doctor said is the diagnosis. You see, and then all of a sudden we start giving power to those things. And we say, oh yeah, this is all God, this is all, I'm creating my own reality, except for this place over here, this thing over here, which so often has to do with money and finances and our prosperity and our abundance. And we have found ourselves in that situation as a community again, as we think about we're planning on moving into a new location. This lease is up May 15th of 2015. Our lease is up, and so we decided we are ready to move to a new location, have better signage, have better acoustics in our main sanctuary, a little more space, greenery, all those things we've been visioning about. It's time to do that now. And as we move in that direction, it's so easy for us to ask ourselves, well, how is that going to happen? How are we going to do that? How are we going to do that financially? Where are we going to get the mortgage? Where are we going to get the money? And immediately we begin to look for the worldly wisdom that's going to teach us something or tell us something. Well, we asked all those questions. How many of you were here when we moved into this place? How many of you were here? Okay, so here's a whole boatload of people who have absolute evidence that we didn't have a clue as to how it was going to work out when we moved in here. Right? But we had an opportunity to step out on our faith. We were called deeper to something bigger and larger and something in alignment with our vision. And oh my goodness, Spirit kept showing up. Now that doesn't mean that we're stupid. That doesn't mean that we spend money that we don't have. It doesn't mean we're not good stewards over what we are receiving. But what that means is that we open the floodgates to what is coming in, to how prosperity is manifesting in our lives. And we are opening all the channels and all the opportunities instead of being, limited, closed to those things that seem real to us. We're called deeper. We're called into a deeper walk in faith, a deeper walk in trust, a deeper willingness to see truth and to remember what's really going on. Now, we start with this by thinking about how we think about it. How do we think about prosperity and abundance? Do we understand that we're resting in an abundant ocean, that we live in an abundant universe, that we're absolutely surrounded by all that we will ever need? Do we know this? Do we believe it? Do we understand it in the depths of our being? Or are we still reading too much of the newspaper, listening to too much television, giving too much power to the things that are going on out there? One of the things that I think is really astonishing to remember is that Ernest Holmes wrote The Science of Mind in 1927. He taught in Los Angeles to thousands of people these spiritual principles about prosperity and abundance in their lives, to thousands of people on a Sunday morning in Wilshire Theater. And he did it right smack through the Depression. In 1929, in 1930, in 1931, he was reminding people that we can believe in the recession, the depression, we can believe in what they tell about the economy and the job market and the soup kitchen lines and all those things. We can believe those things as reality, or we can say, that may be what's going on, but it's not the spiritual truth. It's not what's really going on. So how do we change our viewpoint? How do we find a different way of looking at it? Well, the first thing we can do is ask ourselves, what do we actually believe about abundance, about wealth, about prosperity? What is that to us? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does that mean? And so often we either go to, well, this means a lot of money, or we're very spiritual and it has nothing whatsoever to do with money. It's about how many friends we have and how much love we have in our lives. Perhaps it's all of it. Perhaps it's all of it. Deepak Chopra says in Creating Affluence, affluence is the experience in which our needs are easily met and our desires spontaneously fulfilled. We feel joy, health, happiness, and vitality in every moment of our existence. Abundance and prosperity, affluence and wealth, that it is what it means to us. We get to be in charge of that. We get to say what that is. Wayne Dyer says abundance is not something we acquire, it is something we tune into. What we actually want is to be free to do the things, that are important to us and that are our heart's desires. Abundance is not something we acquire. It is something we tune into. So that begs the question, what are we tuning into? What are we tuning into as we are moving through our lives? As I look at where am I going to purchase a home, and what kind of a home, and what does that look like, and how am I going to pay for that, and how is that going to all work out? As we think about what are we going to do here for our property, as you think about, you're getting ready for your retirement, or you're putting your children through school, or you decide to have a child for the first time, or you want to get married, or whatever it is that you're starting a new business, that new venture, that new thing. How are we going to engage with that? Are we going to engage with that from a deep place of faith and prosperity? What are we tuning into? What's the ground of being on which we stand? Deepak Chopra goes on to say, wealth consciousness is a state of mind, a sense not of believing, but really knowing that what we need is available to us. A state of mind. And let me be very clear. It's not a state of mind that is settling and pretending that what you have is good enough. That's not what it means. We are going to talk later in the month about how important gratitude is. It is very important for us to be grateful for what we have and to actually pay attention to the abundance that we are already experiencing in our life. To be able to name it and claim it and talk about it. But we are not settling for something that isn't actually our experience of wealth, abundance, affluence, feeling like we have well-being and the ability to have the kind of life we want and do the things that we want to do. We do have to ask ourselves the question, though, where does that information come from? Again, what are we tuning into? Are we taking somebody else's idea about what abundance is? You have to be making a certain amount of money, driving a certain car, having a certain status, living a certain way, doing a certain thing, and then you'll be sexy and desirable and you'll know that you're abundant. Right? Isn't that what the marketing Madison Avenue tells us? Or you have to invest your money and have a whole bunch of money and do that, and then you don't have it, and so what? You feel like, well, or I don't have the education, or whatever the story is, because we're looking outside of ourselves for our definition of abundance. Just as easily, we can do that just as easily as we look outside of ourselves to see whether or not there's really prosperity in our lives. So the problem is that we're being taught to believe in fear, scarcity, and lack. Over and over and over again, we're taught to believe that. And all you have to do is read the Wall Street Journal, the Dallas Morning News, the New York Times. You can read magazines and watch the news and have lots of agreement about how bad it is, how horrible it is, how often and difficult it is to find a job, and all with the list, all the scenarios. The problem is that not only do we have scarcity and lack thinking when we are looking at life that way, but our media is looking at life through scarcity and lack thinking, and so that's all they see, and that's all they report. There is, however, another story. So we're going to take a look at that other story.
Visualization is right at the heart of my own work too. I teach global health. And I know having the data is not enough. I have to show it in ways people both enjoy and understand. Now, I'm going to try something I've never done before. Animating the data in real space, with a bit of technical assistance from the crew.
So, here we go. First, an axis for health. Life expectancy, from 25 years to 75 years. And down here, an axis for wealth, income per person, $400,000, $4,000, and $40,000. So down here is poor and sick, and up here is rich and healthy. Now, I'm going to show you the world 200 years ago, in 1810. Here come all the countries. Europe brown, Asia red, Middle East green, Africa south of Sahara blue, and the Americas yellow. And the size of the country bubbles show the size of the population. And in 1810, it was pretty crowded down there, wasn't it? All countries were sick and poor. Life expectancy were below 40 in all countries. And only UK and the Netherlands were slightly better off, but not much. And now, why start the world? The Industrial Revolution makes countries in Europe and elsewhere move away from the rest. But the colonized countries in Asia and Africa, they are stuck down there. And eventually, the Western countries get healthier and healthier. And now we slow down to show the impact of the First World War and the Spanish flu epidemic. What a catastrophe! And now I speed up through the 1920s and the 1930s. And in spite of the Great Depression, Western countries forge on towards greater wealth and health. Japan and some others try to follow, but most countries stay down here. Now, after the tragedies of the Second World War, we stop a bit to look at the world in 1948. 1948 was a great year. The war was over, Sweden topped the medal table at the Winter Olympics, and I was born. But the differences between the countries of the world was wider than ever. United States was in the front, Japan was catching up. Brazil was way behind, Iran was getting a little richer from oil, but still had short lives. And the Asian giants, China, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Indonesia, they were still poor and sick down here. But look what is about to happen. Here we go again. In my lifetime, former colonies gained independence, and then finally they started to get healthier and healthier and healthier. And in the 1970s, then countries in Asia and Latin America started to catch up with the Western countries. They became the emerging economies. Some in Africa follows. Some Africans were stuck in civil war and others hit by HIV. And now we can see the world today in the most up-to-date statistics. Most people today live in the middle, but there are huge differences at the same time between the best of countries and the worst of countries. And there are also huge inequalities within countries. These bubbles show country averages, but I can split them. Take China, I can split it into provinces. There goes Shanghai. It has the same wealth and health as Italy today. And there is the poor inland province Guizhou. It is like Pakistan. And if I split it further, the rural parts are like Ghana in Africa.
And yet, despite the enormous disparities today, we have seen 200 years of remarkable progress. That huge historical gap between the West and the rest is now closing. We have become an entirely new converging world. And I see a clear trend into the future. With aid, trade, green technology and peace, it's fully possible that everyone can make it to the healthy, wealthy corner.
Well, what you just seen in the last few minutes is a story of 200 countries shown over 200 years and beyond. It involved plotting of 120,000 numbers. Pretty neat, huh?
There you go, the joy of statistics. When was the last time you heard that story told? Isn't that amazing? Now, granted, there's still huge disparities, and we want everybody to be in the rich and healthy side, but it's pretty astronomical to see how in 200 years that has dramatically changed. So we can actually begin to even from the worldly wisdom, we can begin to tell the story differently. We can actually focus on where it's moving, where it's growing, how things are actually significantly better than they have ever been before for the majority of people that live on the planet. And that includes us as well. And so again, we have to ask ourselves, what actually is our definition of prosperity and abundance, affluence and wealth? You think of the term wealth, the cornerstone of the term wealth is actually an Old English term that means well-being. Actually means well-being. And interesting that they plot on that chart health and money, the two things, the two most significant things that we use to discern whether we are experiencing health, whether we are experiencing well-being. Now, ultimately, or originally, authentically, that term actually meant spiritual well-being, which is, of course, the heart, the primary impetus for our experience of abundance, of wealth. So when we think about looking at it, we can look at this external information and begin to filter it differently. We can begin to receive it differently. We can begin to see it differently. Now, the other side of that coin, Deepak Chopra continually reminds us in our book, Creating Affluence, that we actually don't live in this material world the way it looks to us today. That Hindus actually called this infinite reality that we live in the pregnant void from which all creation springs. Science is starting to catch up. It's called the quantum field of all possibilities. And it is what we intend and what we pay attention to that takes that pregnant void, that quantum field of all possibilities, and collapses it into the reality that we see and that we experience. So in this quantum field, we have to ask ourselves, is the reality that we are collapsing life into, is that what we want? Is it what we want to experience? Then maybe we have to start seeing it differently. We have to start looking at it differently. We have to look not only at the material and external world differently, we have to look with different eyes. We have to see life differently through a different lens, a different filter. And what is that lens, that filter? Well, the truth is, it is the metaphor and the understanding that we have about the abundant universe that we live in. Not just our definition of abundance, not just recognizing that we live in this quantum field and we're collapsing reality into the experiences that we're having, but now to actually begin to ask ourselves, how do I have a lived, felt experience of the idea that we live in an abundant universe We live in a universe that actually seeks to express itself in abundance and prosperity. There's lots of different metaphors and analogies that we can use for abundance. The treasure chest, a field of flowers that just seems to go on and on. The plethora of the schools of fish. You know, I tried to get a picture of all the mosquitoes in the rainforest. Okay, you want to talk about abundance. And do you know the ridiculous number of types of insects that there are? Oh my goodness. And they're still discovering them. It's this massive amount. I'm thinking about the leaves on the tree, or thinking about the stars in the heavens. Do you see when we can get a hold of the one that for us speaks to us of abundance, we can begin to perceive life differently. We can show ourselves different information so that we're actually getting a true picture of reality from both the physical and the spiritual realm. Remember that it said as above, so below. So if we can see abundance, both statistically and naturally in the world, we can say, we can understand, we can feel and know, yes, actually, we do live in an abundant universe. And the more that we know that we rest in that abundant ocean, the more that becomes the way in which we live our faith. So we're going to close. I'm going to invite you to go within with me. We're going to close with a short meditation. Just inviting you to breathe in with me. Take a moment to settle. Feel the chair and how it supports you. Allow your body to comfortably rest in it. Just feel yourself in this moment safe. There's nothing you need to do right now. Just be here, right here. And notice that as you sit here, all your needs are met. There's not a single thing that's needed in this moment. And we can just be with whatever is around us. And just allow it to be what it is. And here we are. And it's enough. Not only is it enough, but it's more than enough. Because we are resting right now in the very heart of the divine. I'd like for you to imagine with me that we are simply being rocked and cradled in the waves of the ocean. Feel how the water supports us, and we are buoyed up by it. And below us and beneath us, there is a vast and infinite reality. So deep and rich and wide that no matter where we are, no matter where our boat sails, or where we sit, or where we stand, that infinite reality is right there. And we rest and are cradled in its embrace. And above us, as we lay here in these beautiful waves that gently rock us and hold us, above us is the infinite heavens, an infinite expanse in all directions. And it beckons us, and it calls to us, what can be flung into this open space? And there's no walls or ceiling or bars or nothing to confine what our imagination can throw onto that screen of possibility. And we rest in the between. This is the infinite ocean in which we are perpetually supported. And from this infinite reality, we draw the possibilities that are endless for the life that we choose, not just for ourselves, but for all of humanity. And so we experience that our canvas is as large as our imagination. Our life is as large as we can see and perceive. And no matter how big that is, no matter how wide or bright or full that canvas that we draw, there is always this infinite ocean beneath us, holding us up, rocking us and cradling us and lifting us, and being the source of everything we will ever need. I just invite you to float there for a moment. Place of perfect peace and trust. Place of joyous possibility. This is the truth of life. Let us live from it. Let us grow from it. And let us see it explode into life as it blesses us and blesses all those around us. We're so grateful to know that we live in this infinite ocean of love and truth and peace and abundance right here